This is Real Talk Baseball. I'm Carlos Baseball. With me is Will Power. We have an interesting show today. We have a lot of trades that went down already, and we haven't even talked about them, right, Will?
Yeah, man. I mean, we talked about the first trade that went through between the Phillies and the Red Sox in our last podcast, but honestly, there's a lot of things that have been going on since then. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
You know what's crazy too? Like I was just going to mention that there's teams that are actually making trades that are going to be all in. It looks like they're all in, and that's surprising because they haven't made the big splash like we thought they were, but they're actually adding little pieces to their team, which is going to help them out, and that's really good because we're talking about big trades, and these little trades that are happening. They're actually helpful for the teams and actually helpful for the players too, because there's some players that have been traded, and then you see their ERA or you see their batting average. Maybe they need to change the scenery. It could be that, and it could be helpful for the team that actually acquiring these players. So I mean, let's just get into it, dude.
Another thing also is the team that trades away these players. It gives room for the players that are already on the team to get more at bats, to pitch more innings. So it's kind of a win-win for both sides, or at least both sides.
Yeah. So let's get into it, man. The first trade that we saw during this week, I mean, you posted it on Instagram, is the Padres. They went and get Trevor Rosenthal.
Yeah, man. Trevor Rosenthal, he's a really good pitcher. I really think that the Padres really came up on that deal. They did have to give a couple prospects for that, but their bullpen and their starting pitching is really what needs help in the Padres organization. They're scoring, 8, 9, 10 runs every game.
Yeah.
When you're also allowing 6, 7, 8 runs every game, and it, on the opposite side, then that becomes kind of an issue. Like you got a bunch of mashers. You got, Machado, Tatis, and Hosmer that are doing really good, and Will Myers. Mm-hmm. But if those guys have an off day and your pitching gives up 4, 5, 6 runs, then you're going to be in a world of trouble.
That's true, but you need that pitcher to hold him down and actually to save the game. So I think he's going to step in for Kirby Yates, and he's going to be the closer for the Padres. With a 3.29 ERA, which is not bad. It needs to improve a little bit because the Padres do need that closer so they can go ahead and get those W's, right, and catch up to the Dodgers, or just stay in the second spot and then just go ahead and make it a little bit interesting in the standings where they're falling from. That wasn't the only trade the Padres made this week, actually. There was another one. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, Padres actually got Mitch Moreland from the Boston Red Sox, and he's a traditional first baseman. He grew up playing first base, but, he's a really good hitter. His hitting is way better than his defense. So, since the Padres already have Eric Hosmer kind of locked up at first base, he doesn't really play any other positions. Yeah. I see Mitch Moreland playing more as a DH rather than first base, but, Hosmer's going to need a day off once in a while, and then they'll probably just switch. Hosmer can DH one day, and then Mitch Moreland can just take over first base duties for the day. Try to keep everyone healthy. That's the advantage of being the DH in the National League this season.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you just said before we started talking about Mitch Moreland that their offense was already up there. Maybe they're not going to go after that big pitcher because they got more hitting. Mitch Moreland is hitting 328 and 67 at bats. He hits 8 home runs already, so that's pretty good. They're just adding home runs to their lineup, which is pretty interesting because we've talked about it. In our last podcast, we said the Padres need to go after that big pitcher. Mitch Moreland is a good hitter. He's not decent. He's a great hitter. He takes pitch count. He works the pitch count, and he knows what he's doing up there. He's a veteran. So
he was the World Series MVP, I think, when they won in 2018.
Was he?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Padres are going another direction than what we initially thought, or maybe we will see that big pitcher going to San Diego, but Mitch Moreland is just adding more power to that already, explosive offense. So, we'll see what happens with that team.
Yeah, we still have a little more than 24 hours. So, they could still be in some trade talks. Mike Clevinger is still available. Lance Lynn's still available. Johnny Cueto is still available. So we'll see if the Padres try to, bolster up their starting rotation a little bit more.
Since you just said Lance Lynn, there's 4 teams actually looking at him right now. And, the Padres are one of them. The Dodgers are another one. the Blue Jays, and who's the fourth? The fourth
White
team,
Sox.
the White Sox. So yeah, the White Sox. I think.
And
I don't
if
know.
the White Sox were to get a guy like that, they already have Lucas Giolito, who just pitched a no-hitter.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and they also have Dallas Keuchel, who used to be the ace of the Astros
Yeah,
and the ace of the Braves. You
yeah,
know, so now with those two guys, plus Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, he's a great catcher. He's a great defensive catcher. And when you have a battery like that, it really helps with pitch selection and knowing the batter and just all around gameplay.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. I agree. Like Grandal's a good catcher. He knows how to carry the pitching staff. If it's not the bench coach, I mean, or the pitching coach, directing what pitch to throw. But I think Grandal controls the whole game, which is really good. And, that could be a boost for the White Sox if they made that trade.
Yeah.
But it's just speculation right now. There's those four teams, and there could be another team, coming in and scooping them up. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok if we see anything or see any activity or another team going into the mix. Another trade that happened actually too is the Cubs acquired first baseman outfielder Jose Martinez from the Rays. I mean, he's not a big time trade from what we see from his numbers, but we know he can rake. We know he can hit. So we've seen it before with the Cardinals. Before even he went to the Rays, he was on point.
Yeah, he's got some good lefty power, and he's kind of a compliment to Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo's going to need a day off once in a while, and he can play first base on his days off. And I really think he's going to be majority in the outfield, just because the Cubs outfield, it's not the best. You got Kyle Schwarber, Almora, and they is it Jason Hayward? Is he still on the Cubs?
He's still on the Cubs, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, in the outfield, these guys are running all the time. Their bodies end up getting tired from just being out there, for 9 innings every day. So it's nice to have that utility player that can play multiple positions, so that way you can kind of give these guys a break. And he can DH also, because he's a really good against righty pitchers.
That's true. And he actually, I mean, he's not doing all that well right now, but he could be, explosive, like we just said. He's batting 239 with 2 home runs. I mean, it's a short season. He's probably one of those players that need more games to get, catch on fire. But maybe this changes scenery for him. It could change how he hits the ball, or how he's going to be better off, in the stadium. Because with the Rays, it's not a place where they have a lot of well, there's no fans right now because of COVID-19, but it's a little different out in with the Rays than it is in where he's been playing before with the Cardinals. So now he's going back to the Central, and he's going to play for the Cubs. It might change his way of playing baseball. So maybe it's a boost for him, and I hope it is a boost for him. Yeah.
He's played at Wrigley a lot of times throughout his career, being in the National League Central before. So it's not the same team, but it's the same division. He's probably going to feel a little more at home than he did with the Rays. And he's only had, a couple months with the Rays anyway. I believe the Cardinals traded him back in like January or February of this year. So he started this season with the Rays, but, kind of like a little homecoming going back to the National League Central. It might be good for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's I hope it does. I hope it does. And if it doesn't, at least he's a utility player, like you said. He can move. He can give some of these guys some rest, and yeah, it will help out. Another trade that happened is the Blue Jays acquire what do you call it? Taijuan Walker. He's pitching for ERA 400, but I think it's a pitching staff that needs really a lot of help. I mean, there's been a lot of injuries with the Blue Jays pitching staff, so I think it's a good thing, a good acquisition for them. They're still trying to make that push to make the playoffs. And they are part of the playoffs as we speak right now, but they're trying to keep that position or get better and better bracket position, which is a good thing for the Blue Jays. You said they were sellers, right? Are you still sellers?
I don't know. There's kind of trade rumors going all over the place right now. They were talking about possibly giving up some of their bullpen. They have some guys on the team that, they're the young guys like Vlad Jr. that they're definitely not going to get rid of.
Oh, of
But
course not. Yeah.
there are some guys on the team that maybe have like a year or two left on their contract, or even just the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I think that they really started their rebuild, and acquiring Hyunjin Ryu off of free agency. That's like the beginning of them really trying to like go forward. He is their ace.
Yeah.
Hyunjin Ryu is a really great pitcher. He had a sub-2 ERA 2 seasons ago with the Dodgers. So he's definitely a their like fixture in their ace rotation. But
yeah, that's true.
yeah, Taiwan Walker. I mean, I remember him with the Diamondbacks a few years ago, and
Yeah.
he was really good back then, and that was about 5 years ago, and he hasn't really done that good since. But veteran pitchers, once they kind of get into like a playoff scenario, a lot of times it just kind of like brings out the best in them.
That's true. And
So,
you know what's crazy too with that? He actually does change. He eats up a lot of innings, and what team doesn't want that? They want pitchers to eat up innings, so you give your bullpen a little rest. So he will pitch your 6, maybe 7. If he gets to the 6th inning, that's already a win. Most of these pitchers are only pitching 5 innings now, so it's like, what's going on? You're eating up your bullpen. So that's going to help out the team for sure, especially for a starting rotation that needs that help, because there's been a couple injuries in that team. So any other trades that you've heard or that you think is going to happen before the deadline?
Rockies acquired Michael Givens.
Okay.
He's a really good relief pitcher. He was the closer for the Orioles in 2018 and 2019, and it's a really tough division to play in. And that season, between both seasons, I think he had like 18 or 19 saves for each season, which is pretty good,
Yeah.
And being on a team like the Orioles, playing against teams like the Red Sox at the time that were really good, the Yankees and the Rays that have really good hitters, he really showed that he could be that dominant closer. He's not the closer this season for the Orioles, and maybe that's on purpose to show his versatility, how he can be like a setup man also.
Yeah.
The Rockies acquired him. Wade Davis for the Rockies. He's hurt right now, and he hasn't really been doing so good the last couple of seasons since the Rockies got him. And the Rockies also traded away a couple of guys that were in their bullpen, so now they're kind of I think this guy's probably going to be their closer. I don't really see anybody else that could really close out the games. Wade Davis, I think his ERA is up to like 5 something, even though he's on the IL now. But yeah, he was doing really bad in the beginning of the season.
So he is going to come in and be the closer for sure then, or that's just something, or the setup, man.
I would assume, and I don't really think that they have anybody else that could really take up that role as the closer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Colorado, it's kind of hard to pitch anyway. If you have a good ERA in another ballpark and you go to Colorado, that's just going to spike up probably like 30 points or something like that, or 40. I don't know what the math is on it, but just because it's a mile high, and the air's a little bit thinner out there, so everything flies out.
Yep.
So yes, I mean, it's kind of tough to pitch in Colorado, but maybe he's just the right fit for him, and they saw that he's pitched in Colorado before and he did well. So hopefully it works out, man.
We were talking about before that I think he has like 19 strikeouts in 13 innings, and in Colorado you have to be a strikeout pitcher. You can't let them put the ball in play, because when you let them put the ball in play, the ball travels a lot faster and farther. So strikeout pitchers definitely are the ones that dominate in Colorado. Like we were talking about before, how Kershaw, he's been really good in Colorado. That's because he's always been a strikeout pitcher, getting 11, 12, 13 Ks a game.
That's true. Yeah.
But talking about the Orioles, that they just traded away their, Michael Givens, a relief pitcher. They also just traded Tommy Malone, their starting pitcher in their rotation. Braves acquired Tommy Malone.
Oh, the Braves. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, the Braves definitely need some starting pitching.
They do.
After Dallas Keuchel left the free agency, and things with Fultonevich hasn't really, gone the way that they really thought they were. They definitely need some starting pitching in their rotation. You can't let this opportunity go by for a team like that because of your offense.